Oh, this race gets crazier and crazier. Former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin said on Tuesday that she thinks Florida Governor Ron DeSantis should stay governor for the time being, as he continues to attract speculation about a potential 2024 presidential bid. DeSantis doesn't need to run, Palin said in an interview with Newsmax. I envision him as our president someday, but not right now. He should stay governor for a bit longer, she added. He's young, you know. He has decades ahead of him where he can be our president. Although DeSantis has yet to announce 2024 presidential bid, he is widely viewed as former President Trump's biggest competition for the Republican nomination. A recent poll from Monmouth University showed Trump and DeSantis tied as the leading choice among Republican voters for their party's nomination. However, Palin appeared confident in Trump's 2024 prospects on Tuesday. I'm all about healthy and competitive primaries, Palin said. That makes everybody debate. That makes everybody debate more articulately and work harder and let the people know what their records are and visions for this country are. And so I love healthy debate and competitive primaries. When you talk about the specific people, the individual people who are looking at putting their hat in the ring, they got a lot of guts thinking they're going to go up against Trump, she continued. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley officially launched 2024 presidential bid on Wednesday, becoming the first major Republican to challenge Trump. However, Haley is currently polling well behind Trump and DeSantis, securing only 1% of GOP support in last week's Monmouth. But wow, I wish they had mentioned that in the articles they wrote about her. That would have been really funny. So, I'm actually going to disagree with Palin here and just kind of say what I think is this is my own little theory of why she said what she said. Now, the part about her envisioning DeSantis as our president someday, but not now, is, in my opinion, a backhanded compliment. We saw something pretty similar to this where Lindsey Graham, after just getting destroyed in the 2016 primary, they asked him, like, hey, you like Rubio, why don't you endorse him? Well, he's too young to be president, and he has a long life ahead of him, and da-da-da. So one of the things they do is they try to say, oh, well, this young person who I don't particularly disagree with on anything doesn't need to be president at this point because of their age. I'm going to reverse age discriminate against them. The other part is where she says, and you know, I'm going to also mention this. If I were DeSantis, I would get in the race simply because of the polling. And I truly believe this. When you see a chance based off of something you can like tell intrinsically that you might be able to get something, you should do it, because who's to say that in 2028 or 2032 or 36, DeSantis is even polling at 3%? These races can vary a lot depending on the circumstances. I mean, if you go back to 2008, a lot of people thought Palin would be the Republican nominee in 2012 just because she was the person on the ticket with McCain, and we obviously she didn't even bother running. So I think he shouldn't listen to her, and I think what she's really doing is kind of like masking the fact that she's this extreme Trump supporter, like, to where it was even mentioned that she was like a person that was I never believed the sincerity of this, but like floated as a potential running mate for him, which would be hilarious. Like, I'm all about healthy competitive primaries, but let me tell the person who's polling the best outside of Trump, hey, don't get in yet, you're too young. You have enough time to go and do this later on. There was one saying about politics I've always really appreciated, which was that a couple of years can seem like a lifetime. And that's always resonated with me because I've watched people who, at one point, they were in the lead, and then 2 years later, 3 years later, nothing. Biden's a perfect example of this. This is a guy who ran in 88 and 2008 and got crushed both times, dropping out in Iowa, if I remember correctly, for 2008. And then he runs during this previous primary, loses the first 3 states, massively wins South Carolina, and then takes the whole thing away. So it's one of those things where I really don't advise seeing polls that show you doing as well as DeSantis. Like DeSantis would have to be a complete. He would either have to be someone who doesn't want to be president, which I don't believe. All these politicians are, trying to climb the ladder, or he would have to be the stupidest person on earth to be like, well, these polls show me doing pretty much as well as the former president who's trying to become the party's nominee for the third presidential election in a row, but I'm going to just decide to forego it because I'm young, and eventually in 2032 or 36 or 40 or 44 or 48, I can come back and everybody will be ready for me, and then, except they won't, because then there will be some new person that they're trying to get elected instead. But and then only then will I regret listening to Palin. Man, I'm glad that I really hope, and I don't think he will, but this is bad advice. If you like somebody and you apparently can envision them as president someday, why in the hell would you tell them to not get in the race that has them basically in the lead before they've even started running? Be like, hey, here's this premier opportunity for me to be the nominee. I'm just gonna let it pass up. I'll get it eventually, So I think this is her little shadow way of helping Trump, like give his opponent some backhanded praise. Oh, I could see him as president someday, and also like say don't bother running because Trump is too powerful and invincible. Except not really. That's why his lead has decreased over DeSantis as much as it has. But yeah, he totally should just let these other people who are polling less than him get in, but not get in himself. It's hilarious. I'm actually just imagining the alternative of like if DeSantis didn't run, which that sounds like a fairy tale at this point because of how unlikely it is. But if he didn't run, who would you have? You have Trump, Haley, Pence, Pompeo. The two of them aren't in, but they're being discussed as it. I mean, like I just don't. I think him not being there leaves a massive void because that not Trump vote is going to splinter off between 7, 8, 9, 10 other people. So we'll see. We will see.